against it, and it's not getting any easier.
Welcome back to the Voice of the 51%, the channel where we fearlessly discuss important issues affecting women and girls. Today, we will be diving deep into the murky waters of self-identification in Queensland. Brace yourselves, because we're about to uncover the dangers it poses to the rights and safety of women and girls. But before we jump in, let's clarify something crucial. The difference between equality and equity. Many of us have been led to believe that equity means fairness, where everyone gets the same treatment regardless of need. But in reality, the equity of the gender cult deliberately introduces unfairness and privilege to the detriment of others. Imagine a classroom where students are preparing for an exam. Equity now means that every student receives the same textbook, regardless of their individual needs and abilities. As a result, some students who require additional resources and support may struggle to succeed, while others may not be challenged enough. On the other hand, real equality of opportunity ensures that each student receives the necessary resources and assistance tailored to their specific needs, allowing for a level playing field and equal opportunities for success. Like many other ideas that were clearly understood 10 years ago, the gender cult are deliberately playing around with language to confuse and trick people. Equity now means the complete opposite of fairness in the hands of the cult. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, the continued censorship of our voices. As women, we've been accustomed to facing censorship and silencing in today's society. Every one of our videos so far has been banned by YouTube. What better reason do you need to follow us? We must be doing something that irks the powers that be. Once again, we find ourselves dealing with a sad bloke who is stalking and reporting us continually. However, we won't waste our valuable time naming him because, truth be told, roughly 1 million social media users already know precisely who he is. Let's not give any more time or energy to these sad, failed men. Sadly, we're not the only women being censored. It was reported last week that The Age sacked journalist Julie Szego for being one of the very few journalists who are still in touch with reality. Astonishingly, ABC Media Watch appears to have finally woken up and had a reasonable go at reporting this fact in the most balanced way that they are capable of, giving the stronghold that AIDS Council of New South Wales has on them. This clip has driven the gender cult activists insane, with some of them claiming, don't laugh, that there is a literal trans genocide going on. Despite this claim being a lie that is unbelievably insensitive and offensive to survivors of the Holocaust or the Bosnian and Rwandan genocides, the extremists simply just don't care.
And talking of bad PR, here is some more, this time for The Age in Melbourne, where the gender war has claimed a new casualty.
The Age sacks columnist Julie Szego amid gender furore.
The Age sacks columnist Julie Szego over trans article controversy.
Julie Szego has been with the Melbourne Age for almost 25 years as a reporter, leader writer and recently star columnist, but not anymore. Earlier this month, Szego was cancelled after a row about a news piece she'd penned for the paper, thus seeing her join high-profile female columnists like The Guardian's Suzanne Moore and Hadley Freeman, who claim they were forced out of their jobs because of what they wrote on transgender issues. So, how did Szego's sacking play out? A 5,000-word article that The Age rejected, now published on Substack, tackled the subject of children transitioning and included growing doubts among doctors in the UK, Scandinavia, France and Spain over the use of puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones.
To support Julie, you can find her on Twitter and on Substack at Szego Unplugged. The links are in the description. Now let's turn our attention back to the issue at hand, self-identification. While our voices may be suppressed, we refuse to be silenced. It's time to shed light on the dangers that this proposition presents to women and girls.
I identify as an 8-year-old girl.
No, you're not an 8-year-old girl.
You are what you identify as.
Paul's this sort of shit all the time. He saw a documentary once about ME, had that for a year.
That was a nightmare. You're tired all the time, I couldn't work.
It was bullshit.
There is a lot of misunderstanding and cynicism about the disease.
Yeah, and you didn't fucking have it, you moron. Silly twat thought he caught Down syndrome last year.
I was 7.
Oh, fuck me. You're a 50-year-old plumber from Sheffield. Your name's Dennis, for fuck's sake.
It's Denise.
I'm not calling you Denise.
Again, transphobic, you see. If you love me, you deal with it.
I do love you. But I married Dennis Charlton, and if that's no longer your name, then I'm not married to you.
Right. Once and for all, I identify as an 8-year-old girl called Denise. Therefore, I am an 8-year-old girl.
Well, tell that to your cock and bollocks, you silly cunt. Everyone knows what's in your knickers, Dennis, and if you're an 8-year-old girl, then you've been shoplifting from the local fucking butchers.
What's going on?
Oil plug. It's the local paper. They're going to do a bit on us.
Dad.
Do you want to play dollies later?
Take a picture.
Yeah.
Wednesday the 14th of June, a day that will go down as one of Australia's national days of shame, saw the ideologically captured Queensland Parliament pass laws that made a string of changes to self-identification of a person's sex. To be clear, none of any of these gender changes has anything whatsoever to do with LGBT rights. In fact, LGBT rights are also being removed, as if biological sex no longer exists, then same-sex attraction is also being denied. The changes mean that men and women aged 16 and over can legally self-identify on their birth certificate without sexual reassignment surgery, as long as a supporting statement is provided by an adult they've known for at least a year. Children aged 12 to 15 can do so too, if they get parental permission or apply to the courts. Parents also have the option to not list any sex on the birth certificate of a newborn, with Attorney General Yvette Daft saying it would give people the greatest agency over what information they want recorded. Let's be clear here, this is a disastrous development that ignores masses of evidence presented by women's advocacy groups outlining the very real and present danger that this ridiculous move presents to women and children in Queensland. Self-identification undermines the very fabric of our society that seeks to protect women's rights. It also eradicates the whole idea of same-sex attraction, which makes this change deeply homophobic. Picture a world where any man can simply declare himself a woman and access women-only spaces, like restrooms, change rooms, or shelters. This not only compromises safety and privacy, but also perpetuates a system where the needs and experiences of women and girls are trivialized and erased. But let there be no doubt, standing against self-identification does not mean we're against genuine equality. On the contrary, we advocate for a society that respects and uplifts the rights and experiences of all males and females. Genuine equality recognises the unique challenges faced by different groups and aims to provide fair treatment and opportunities based on their individual needs, circumstances and abilities. However, when all is said and done, biology is real. The differences between males and females are obvious, and sex-based protections were put in place for very good reasons.
Several weeks ago, in a vote to allow trans students to use whatever bathroom they wish, you assured us that these policies were perfectly safe, as neither yourself nor law enforcement could provide a single example of any trans student assaulting any girl in any bathroom, in any school, in any state, anywhere at all, in fact. But not to worry, since you couldn't locate them, I took the trouble too. See, Loudoun County, Virginia, where last year, under district policy, a trans student was allowed into the women's bathroom where he assaulted a girl. To cover it up, they moved him to another school where he did it again. See, Irvine, California last month, where a trans student entered the women's locker room and flashed the girls there. When they confronted him, he mercilessly beat them. This happened again in Gwinnett County, Georgia. This happened again in Oklahoma City. This happened again in Ohio, where a trans man was allowed to use the locker room where he was arrested for flashing little girls. The judge dropped the charges after he ruled that this man was too fat for them to see anything. Last month, in this city, a man using they-them pronouns in a scene straight out of Silence of the Lambs hunted down and killed a female jogger because he, quote, wanted to look just like her. And before you say that these are anecdotal evidence, just note that in a survey of trans inmates in federal prisons, half were convicted of sexual assault and 90% were convicted of violent crimes, well above the general prison population. Now, it should also be noted that in each of these cases, each of these perpetrators had either changed their pronouns, had undergone transition, or had received gender-affirming therapy and accommodations thereof. Why is this important to note? Probably for the same reason we recognize as a society that you do not affirm that people with anorexia can be healthy in any way. You do not affirm that somebody with schizophrenia is hearing voices. And you do not affirm that somebody in a manic episode is having great ideas. Because when you leave somebody to languish in their false mental state, i.e. men who think they are women, they will inevitably lash out and harm themselves and those around them. People hurt other people. But I don't want to pretend and have the hubris to think that I'm going to be the one to change your mind. I'm happy to share any and all of these examples with you. But you will most likely leave here tonight believing that men can become women, affirming care works, and that you made the right vote. But you will no longer be able to look into the eyes of your constituents and honestly say that you are unaware of the assaults that inevitably take place when we declare to women, you have no right to privacy. Thank you very much.
For example, 99% of all sex offenders are male in Australia, and that figure is consistent around the globe. This legislation now allows these men to simply self-ID and be housed in women's prisons. Talk about letting the fox into the hen house. This is why Alex Greenwich's proposed equality legislation in New South Wales is deeply concerning. By slyly introducing self-identification and pretending that it is about LGBT rights, it undermines the concept of equality and replaces it with a system that favours subjective self-identification over objective realities. This approach fails to acknowledge the diverse experiences and needs of women and girls, as well as erasing same-sex attraction, ultimately putting rights and safety at risk, as the wonderful Ms. Listristis explains.
This is a message for Alex Greenwich MP. Your equality bill has nothing to do with equality and everything to do with top-down social engineering camouflaged in rainbow colours. How arrogant are you to think that you can simply legislate away the rights of women, the innocence of children, and the bedrock of family in order to enshrine an obscene ideology that says that men can be women simply because they say so, that children can choose their sex and consent to lifelong medicalisation, sterilisation and amputation, and that families who rightfully object to this abomination should have their children removed by the state. This bill is a travesty and the last word in hubris, because, Alex, women are not a concept that can be redrawn by entitled men. Children are not lab rats, and families are not an anachronism to be swept away in order to usher in your rainbow utopia. And so, Alex, you better strap in what I'm sure is a perfectly manscaped ass for a bumpy ride, because we the people, the ordinary people of New South Wales, do not consent.
So, my fellow warriors for women's rights, let us not be discouraged by the attempts to silence us. We will continue to raise our voices, demand evidence-based policies, and fight for genuine equality that respects the rights and safety of the 51%. Together we can create a world where fairness and justice prevail. Thank you for joining us today. Remember to like, comment and subscribe to our channel, because your support empowers us to keep pushing for positive change. And while you are at it, we also recommend that you subscribe to the other gender-critical channels that we have listed to get the full picture of what is really going on. Until next time, let's stand united and keep advocating for the rights and well-being of women and girls. So, until next time, ask yourself, is it true, or was it just made up by the ABC?
so much.